Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for April the 6th, 2023. I am Mike O'Reilly, the chairman. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey. Thank you. We'll now call the roll, starting on my right.
Dominic Smermalino, alternate commissioner.
Ryan Condon, Commissioner.
Dan Ambrosi, commissioner.
Bruno Maini, Commissioner. Robert Westland, Commissioner.
Lupo, alternate commissioner.
Rick Schultz, Planning and Zoning Administrator, new title.
Sarah Stroud, recording secretary.
Okay. Thank you. Now we will not seat any alternates. We'll start with general public participation. This is time for the public to address the commission on any issues that are not on the agenda tonight. So if there's anyone here tonight or anyone online that would like to address the commission on an item not on the agenda, please raise your hand. Ms. Lindstrom, please come forward. Name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Kathy Lindstrom, 298 Guinea Road. You told me that I was a former planning and zoning commission member. But most of you, forgive me for reading, but I want to make sure I cover everything and don't read them along. Most of you won't be surprised to learn that I'm here to speak about the continuing zoning violations. Signs, lights, boats, fabric garages, boats, commercial, recreational vehicles. After filing a formal request months ago, the blight and non-compliance situation at the intersection of Main Street, Route 25 and Route 59 persists. I urge each and every single one of you to drive by and see for yourselves the eyesore the property has become and find out why, after all this time, the condition remains the same and no enforcement action has been taken. When Joe Chapman was CEO, he was known to go around town and confiscate non-conforming signs. If a business followed the regulations they applied for and were approved to place a sign, they would put a sticker on the sign with an expiration date so he would know when the sign should be removed. You should also be aware that the planning and zoning bylaws and charter both stipulate that the CEO is to keep the commission informed on a regular basis. And that was the practice when I was on planning and zoning. The CEO regularly attended our meetings, and he updated us on the status of non-compliance and any of the issues and actions taken. We had the opportunity to review his Excel reports at every meeting, ask questions, express concerns, and discuss mutual priorities. If the commissioners, current commissioners, don't think it's necessary or appropriate to enforce the current regulations, to change them, abolish them, eliminate them. There are many long-standing non-compliance issues, including, I'm just going to name a few. There were some some ornamental trees that were not replaced on Bradford Green. They all died, they're dead, they're gone. Nothing ever came to replace them. Street trees that were promised as part of an approval process in the industrial area on Pepper Street. Those street trees never appeared. Still, all these years later, still no street trees. And that was part of the approval process. There are misdirected lights that are shining in people's eyes in parking lots. Fabric banners are blowing everywhere in the wind. RVs and boats are being parked continuously on residential property. Monroe has a decades-long history of not enforcing compliance and ignoring violations. It's obvious that enforcement is not a priority and the results are visible all over town. Neighbors are reluctant to file complaints for fear of retribution. With no penalties or consequences, proliferation perpetuates. The previous CEO left Monroe to go to Shelton, where he's been on the job for just 7 months. And according to the Connecticut Post article, which I will hand out, in that time, he resolved 6 years of violations in 7 months. Got everything caught up.
Kathy, I'll take that.
Yeah, there's not quite enough for everybody. Thank you. Again, I am suggesting that we hire a part-time staff person or bring on an intern whose only job it is to document, follow up, and on non-compliant property owners. Other towns manage to get the job done. What is it that prevents Monroe from doing the same? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindstrom. Rick, do you have one? We can take care of those issues, correct?
Yeah, as the commission is aware, the CEO attends the second meeting of each month. And Ms. Lindstrom, the CEO has addressed that matter on Route 59, cease and desist, and they're ready to take it to the citation officer. So things are moving, but the commission will get a full report. There are several things, as Ms. Lindstrom indicated, and they are being addressed. You'll have a complete report at the second meeting in April.
And I'll just interject one other thing. I drove by there again today.
Yeah.
Different trucks, different vehicles, different junk, it's not getting better. It's just changing a little bit. You know?
No, you're absolutely right in your observation.
Okay, continuing with general public participation, is there anyone else here today who would like to address the commission on any items that are not on the agenda? Is there anyone online that would like to address the commission? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll move on to the public hearings. Oh, wait a minute, we have Ms. Alicia Garfield. Can we unmute Alicia?
Alicia, can you?
Hi. Yeah, it just takes a while. It's a little hard to do on the mobile phone. You have to hold your profile to raise your hand and then scroll back. Yes, so this is Alicia Garfield. I'm on 58 Laurel Drive. I believe on the agenda tonight is 127 Main and the 196 apartments that were proposed.
Right, so there'll be time for discussion of that later.
Later? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. See you later.
All right, well. Move on then. First public, I don't see any other hands, so we'll move on. First public hearing, SCP 2023-03. This is the 127 Main Street. This is a continuation from March the 16th.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, one additional exhibit. All the commissioners have the addendum from Realty Concepts, Inc., dated March 16th. This is an addendum to the fiscal impact report. This has been revised to reflect updated information. It's a 3-page report. That is all.
Okay. See, it addresses the additional 8 units.
Restore. Take a second.
Seemed like hours. Looking at it. Sure.
Oh, yeah. No. That's not it. It comes down to.
I don't understand.
Yeah, you get that here. Be there for about an hour.
Just small.
Bob.
You look. Did not see the coloring. Here, watch.
You can tell I have nothing better to do all day today.
Did you what?
You could work there. You won't mind.
Oh, okay. I didn't go there today. I was there more than.
I don't like.
Some of your better guys.
I hate that.
Not a true black, you're a clearish black. Yeah. Clearish black. Wait a little bit. Got the gold platinum.
It's gonna rain
You don't
tonight.
want the interior waterfront.
You got your,
The golden. There you go.
click share. This stuff, yep.
It's really sad.
Yeah. I mean, once a year we break it up.
Yeah. You read it. Yeah. It's weird. It's the first supplies with my family. Actually, where is that marking? I just saw it.
Yeah, Nicole, you want to help me on here?
So what are you trying to do?
Yeah, we had this issue last week for the laptop, you know, share.
Oh, yeah. I'm got a big excavator. Hey, I put it up there, so I guess you felt that was okay. Yeah, sure, it was fine.
HDMI is plugged in? I don't see the HDMI plugged in. I see the charging.
That's what it is,
Oh,
yes.
I called the rack.
thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Let's try this again.
Sat back there because I had someone go. I sent them there.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody.
It's a combination of issues, so hold on. I think you're,
To check the plug.
try now.
Okay. I know. 9 years old. You know, this is what do it. You riot.
We don't want to share what's on here. We want to have him.
Usually when you do that, it goes on.
It is a full moon. Puts the on one side.
Yeah, your screen.
Stay out. Really awesome. You must get your crown around. This is on the internet?
Yeah, we had this difficulty last,
automatically, if I put my horses in, I'm barely making it here. Which I walked in the same time Bruno. Bruno was like. That's your question. I just, the only thing that pisses me off is like, if like, kids go to the basement. And they leave everything on the
For days.
Then that's just like, that's a little.
That gets me at night. It's just stuff. One's up now. The 10-foot helmet. I don't think they gave it.
We did.
Oh, really?
We didn't get it.
It's big. It's just a mindset.
How does that fall? Because the next one, fucking. What the house in the dark.
Do you want to move this meeting
Actually,
2 weeks from now?
Could go ahead without the audio visuals.
We can,
We cancel the meeting.
We've seen everything.
Do you want to run back to Solely Engineering and get a computer that works? Mary, can you bring us a computer that works, please?
Mary, actually, then maybe we can do it from.
Oh, Mary.
Hey, Ryan, we're having difficulty.
What's going on, Rex?
We're trying to, we're using the laptop.
You have the laptop in there?
Yes.
On the technology.
All right, and so laptop is not turning on, or what's the deal?
No, the laptop is on, we just can't get it.
Mary, help us, please.
Okay, give me a second here.
2 cigarettes already.
2 cigarettes?
Everything's hooked up correctly.
This is it. Oh, I broke my pen
All
now.
right, just stand by.
I'm going to use it.
Oh, so I went from my,
Your colonoscopy? We're still on, but
I know. I went for,
We got a,
Royal.
that's all. Something.
we had this happen in the last meeting.
Find some tranny fluid at the end? Yeah.
Happened last meeting?
Yeah, and I forgot to call you. I thought it was just a glitch.
Very delinquent. Quick, yes, I'll tell you. Quick. That was funny.
Because at the end of the meeting, it was with Chris here.
Well, I was,
Yeah. All right, so let's make sure, let's. All right, let me check the laptop real quick.
I'm like, well, why are you saying that? So I went. Everything was good.
Fine.
So it was good.
Leon could have smoked 10 cigarettes by now.
I think I.
All right, so the laptop is set to do.
Yankees are in the 4th inning. Let's go.
I know a lot of things. Jeff was crippled at home.
Rick, on the left side of the laptop, is there a cable plugged into it?
Yeah, it's plugged in, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, can you unplug that and give it a second, plug it right back in?
Drop off. I crashed it. I mean.
I think you crashed your car.
Dog was snoring, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I said, if I room is good. You know what? Who's gonna take care of the 5 portions? Who's gonna take care of it? Oh, yeah, you're right, baby. Hey, you guys.
I'll do it. Here, tell them we can do it this way. We can just, we're logged in, so we can do it.
You got the gas pump inside of your car. That was the longest shame, taking that out. I could have screwed it up.
Good, good.
Hey, Rick, next week, call me, actually call the help desk. We'll have to take a look and see why this isn't working, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I meant to do that. Have a good night. Bye.
Okay, goodbye.
3 minutes. Beginning to this, right there.
You good?
Now, pick up my line, that's where I'm going. It's an area.
It's right things to do. All right, at the meeting, things to do.
Meeting adjourned. Second.
My apologies for that. We just had some technical difficulties, but
Is the laptop plugged in? Because it says we're at 5%.
it's plugged in.
Okay.
Yes, it is. So for the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located right here in Monroe, 501 Main Street.
Now it says 6%.
We're here tonight for the continuation of the proposed, the special exception permit at 127 Main Street. But first, I just want to apologize for some miscommunication at the last meeting. We were, it was our intention to continue that meeting and really have the discussion this evening, because we wanted to allow for the wetlands commission to close and approve the application, which they have done at their last meeting. So that should be in the record at this point, the wetlands approval for the project. But so we kind of wanted to obviously run through some of the changes that we had made to the plans in response to the previous public hearing and all the comments and discussions raised. And we did have a chance to listen to, the discussion at the last meeting, and we'll try to address those as well. So with me here this evening is Mary Blackburn, our architect, is here remotely, but I'm just going to kind of run through some of the things that we had discussed and some of the changes that we made. Obviously, just as we've been talking about this project, we've been including a lot of references and pictures of other projects that have been completed by Continental Properties. And, we're really proud of the highly amenitized aspect of what we're proposing to bring to the community. One of the components that we kind of talked about a little bit at the last hearing is, and we wanted to kind of bring back to the forefront as part of the sustainability plan that kind of comes along with this application. So I'm just going to run through some of those aspects. One of the things that we may or may not have touched on is obviously this project is going to include a lot of different elements. The first of which is solar panels on the clubhouse. The overall project has been designed in accordance with the International Dark Sky Association. So as we've discussed at the previous hearings, all of the proposed lighting for the project is dark sky compliant for exterior lightings and all recessed fixtures. Eliminate glare, eliminate the potential for light spillage or light impacts to the surrounding residences. The site, and with all these projects, they incorporate a number of Energy Star and WaterSense approved appliances. So these are low flow toilets, Energy Star appliances, Energy Star windows, limited gallons per minute faucets and shower heads. Really trying to, reduce that overall impact and really kind of focus on that sustainability aspect of what we're trying to bring to the community. There's a bike share program with bike racks. Those have been shown identified on the site plan. And obviously we've also discussed and provided some EV charging stations, which will be incorporated onto the project as well. Also have some paper rumble strips. Again, this is another means of adding some additional aesthetic interest to the overall site and the project. So, we just kind of wanted to run through those again, just to kind of reiterate to the commission and show some of those aspects and reinforce the applicant's, dedication to that and incorporating a lot of those aspects. So we did have some minor tweaks to the last plan. A lot of it had to do with focusing on buffering for a lot of the surrounding properties. So along the east side of the property, one of the things that we've done is we provided some additional grading to create a little bit of a berm along that area. And our landscape plan has been enhanced to provide a significant amount of additional screening. So along this easterly edge, we've enhanced this with a combination of white firs and arborvitaes. So we have a total of just under 40 trees located along this area here. And a staggered row to really kind of maximize that screening. We've also proposed and incorporated a 6-foot-high solid fence to provide some additional screening measures. Now, the white firs will get from 40 to 70 feet tall in height upon, final maturation, and those arborvitaes will grow to 50 feet tall. So those in connection with the proposed fence, we think that's going to provide a very significant and adequate buffer to protect against, any potential, visual impact. And as we've discussed at previous hearings, we had also added additional plantings along the northern end of the property to provide additional screening from that direction. We feel that what we propose is kind of robust buffer to be, cognizant of what our surrounding environment is and the abutting residents.
Is that fence going to go all the way around?
So we've proposed it along this edge. As we've talked about before, the southerly edge of the site there's a significant cut. So that in itself will kind of put our development down in a hole to reduce some of those potential impacts. And I kind of breezed through it quickly before, but obviously just this kind of shows that section through there. You can see how much lower we are in elevation. We do have a fence proposed on top of that as well. I don't recall if it was the same type of fence that may have just been a chain fence. But again, with the vegetation, both existing and what's proposed along that slope, we feel that there's adequate protection there for the surrounding residents.
That little Fox Lane, yeah.
Up here?
Yeah. I just drove by there today and there's a huge pile of dirt and appears to be in their backyard.
No, so they recently installed solar panels, and when they did, they actually cut down quite a few trees, not only on their property, but also on this property. So one of the things we've also added is some additional buffer plantings in that area. There is some soil stockpile on our site in this location, but obviously as part of this, all that'll get removed. This will be graded and established. And we did propose some additional screening there as well in that corner. So that is included as part of our revised plans.
Yeah, what's the height of the fences?
6 feet.
And that edge is all just going to be rock face?
So along this southerly edge, so all that rock was pre-split to make sure that we had a nice stable face. As they finish and finally clear that off, if there's any localized stabilization needed, that'll be done on that elevation. But we do feel it's generally stable. But any localized areas will be addressed as needed from a stabilization standpoint.
Going to be a fence on the bottom there, so nobody can close to that rock face?
We have a large catchment area at the bottom. And obviously, if something is needed, that'll be something that we aren't proposing a fence along that area at this point. But if we were to I think we can provide stabilization without the need for an additional catchment fence because we do have such a significant area there. But we can certainly look at that as that area, as that final face is exposed, and if there's a need for it, we can certainly.
That's not going to be pinned in any way or nothing like that, right?
No, we don't believe it requires any rock anchoring or anything like that at this point. But again, as it really gets cleaned off, some of those recommendations will come to those final kind of, construction, more of like a construction level detail.
You don't think there's going to be a need for a fence over there?
But we have a fence on top. I don't believe we'll need a fence on the bottom, but if the conditions present themselves where it would be beneficial, we can certainly have.
There's a fence on the top.
Yeah, I know, but they're talking about, because the rock face is the rock doesn't come off there. And it happens all over the place. What's the guarantee that it's going to stay stable? You don't know that, right?
Well, so part of that final assessment, once that face is fully exposed and cleaned, geotechnical engineer will go through, evaluate that, look for any potential cracks or potential for issues. And it really does kind of get cleaned off. And it's also like a maintenance thing, right? You want to actually continue to go and maintain that to ensure that there's nothing loose along there.
I'm just worried about somebody walking through there and something falling.
Yeah, and I think, obviously the applicant is just as concerned with that as well, right? We're trying to get a good environment where we can feel.
Or somebody trying to climb on it?
Exactly. So At this point, we don't have one proposed, but we can certainly, I think we can certainly add one if it's warranted or if the commission feels strongly about it.
Okay.
Some of the other elements that I know we wanted to talk about was just, again, revisiting some of the traffic discussions and concerns. So as we talked about at the last meeting, our proposed development, even though we are proposing 196 units, the overall traffic generation from a peak hour standpoint is somewhat nominal. A total of 73 trips in the morning peak hour and a total of 77 trips in the afternoon peak hour. We provided an analysis, a detailed traffic impact study to understand the operating conditions of the area roadway network, and we have been able to demonstrate that we will not have an adverse impact. One of the improvements that we are proposing is at the intersection with Route 25. This is the Dunkin' Donuts Baskin Robbins. So we are proposing to widen that to provide both a right and left turn lane coming out of that driveway. That just adds some additional capacity to ensure that can operate effectively and efficiently. And then, we've discussed at length that we are proposing and there will be a permanent easement established for access behind the Dunkin' Donuts and through the gas station property to Purdy Hill. This also provides additional relief for vehicles to get access to that signal if they want to turn left on 25 and go north, or just really provide and deal with that overall the operations of that traffic signal. We have an easement map which has been prepared and is being ready for filing subsequent to an approval of this project. So we certainly encourage the commission, if you want to include that as a potential condition of approval, that easement map has to be filed. It's our intent to do that. So it's certainly something that can be reinforced through the potential approval document. And again, that really grants access easements for all three of these properties to both driveways, the stop sign control driveway across from Dutchess, and then access to the signalized intersection at Judd Road.
So you're willing to file that easement?
Yes, we're proposing it as part of it. There's an agreement being prepared that talks about cost, maintenance obligations and cost sharings for that. And that is something that would be filed in the land records to ensure that continued access into the future. One of the other aspects that was submitted was as part of the previous submittal materials, we had an overall fiscal analysis prepared for this project by Realty Concepts. What we submitted today was essentially an update of that table. There have been some additional discussions with police and EMS, and we wanted to revisit the potential fiscal impact to the community. Stan Janowski from Realty Concepts prepared this. He's unavailable tonight, so I'm just going to kind of touch on it quick. To the left is the original proposed fiscal analysis for the initial project, which was 188 units. And this was based on an estimated total of 17 school-age kids. We looked at the education cost per pupil at that time, which was $17,754 per student. I think we've talked about this at length. In reality, while there may be 17 school-age children at this development, those wouldn't all necessarily be new students to the school system. And I think if you look at some of the other higher density developments like Northbrook, if you look at the school-age population in that community, a lot of the kids in that development are actually going to schools outside of what that district represents. So by what I mean, if you resided there, you would probably go to Fawn Hollow, right? There are a lot of students in that group that were presented that in that development that actually go to Monroe or Stepney because they were very likely going to those other school systems before they ended up moving to that facility. So they have the ability to stay in that school district where they have gone to elementary school before. That's something that we find and expect to likely happen here as well. But again, that's from a fiscal analysis standpoint, we want to make sure we're being conservative. So previously we estimated that the net benefit to the town was just under $600,000. And that assumes, the full education costs for those students and costs for a new police officer and additional cost for EMS as well. We wanted to update that based on recent conversations. So it's actually been updated for 196 units. School-age kids actually went up to 18 from an estimation standpoint. Education costs actually went up based on the last budget to $18,255 per student. But we included, additional fees again for police, EMS, public works, and then additional town services. And even with that, the net benefit to the community is actually upwards of just under $700,000, $668,000. So again, I think we believe that the proposed development that's before the commission really does represent something that I think the community hopefully can be proud of. I mean, I think we're trying to create something here that's going to be a very highly amenitized project. And it's going to have a very positive fiscal impact on the community and provide, again, that additional housing choice, which has been referenced so much and thought about so much by this commission through the POCD, through the affordable housing plan, all those aspects. So, so with that, we tried to be responsive to the best we could to a lot of the comments raised. And, at this point, again, Mary Blackburn is here. If there's any specific questions regarding landscaping or some of our screening, but we're happy to answer any of the questions that the commission may have or open up to the public again.
Thank you. Let's go to the commissioners. Starting on my right.
I don't have any new questions.
Hold on.
So again, you're gonna be putting a lot of buffer on it is on the the high elevation, right? It's not, because I noticed now I drove by and you can see that house from 25 right now. So I'm assuming they don't want to continue to have a view at 25. So a nice robust buffer there would probably be appreciated. All right, that's it for me for now.
Hold on. So what's the heights going to be? Plants you're going to plant in there?
Could you say that louder? Couldn't hear you.
What's the height of the plants that you plan on putting in there right now? I know you said that they can go up to 50 feet and 40 feet. What's the install height?
Yeah, I just want to make sure so we're proposing 6 to 8 foot high
When I start asking questions.
cedars and actually 10 to 12 foot high, some of the balsam firs, and 10 to 12 foot high arborvitae. So we are proposing 10 to 12 foot height at planting.
What do they grow a year about? What do they grow a year about? 2 feet?
I defer to Mary for that. I'm not sure the answer to that question. I'm going to try my landscape architect for how fast they grow a year.
I think so.
But Mary, you're muted. Actually, she's not, but we can't hear her.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi. So hi, for the record, Mary Blackburn, professional landscape architect with Solely. The arborvitaes grow about 3 feet a year. They can go up to 5 feet a year. And the white fir, while they do get larger in the end, they grow a bit slower, probably 1 to 2 feet a year.
That's all.
Yeah.
And you have a front section of what the sidewalk and all that's going to look like in the front, did you?
Not other than the 2D rendering, the top-down rendering.
Right.
I'll say we've submitted to the DOT and we've been working with the DOT as part of that work, but I don't have a specific rendering for that sidewalk. But as we discussed, we are proposing sidewalk, throughout the development itself, down the driveway to 25 and then along the property.
Going to be any lighting on that? Any lighting on that sidewalk?
We aren't proposing any lighting on the sidewalk. That sidewalk abuts, a wetland system in here. So we wanted to be sensitive to that. One of the other things that we've actually made some changes to our wetland approval is we did modify some plantings to provide a little bit more native, especially in the upland review area. So we replaced some ground cover as part of our last submission to be responsive to some of their comments raised.
The screening plants aren't native, right?
Oh, you just cut off Leon.
Sorry.
Mary?
The buffer, you're muted.
Yeah, Mary Blackburn for the record. Some of the screening trees are native. We're using eastern red cedar, and the arborvitae are not. Those are the only.
Because I know, will those get eaten away by deer?
We're proposing emerald green giant.
No, so Right, so we're proposing green giants. The emerald greens are the ones that the deer tend to browse, but the green giants, they do not.
Thank you. Sorry.
Commissioner Mayne.
All right, buddy, we have to talk here. The front entrance, you said you're gonna expand it, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Now, there was a approval across the street for a gas station, and they said they were gonna expand that side of the road also.
So, yeah, so the gas station
Yes,
across the street, they were widening to provide a bypass lane
correct.
for vehicles traveling southbound, so that if a car was turning left into their driveway, it could continue to go south.
Are you gonna connect to that?
Yes, so our driveway construction has been designed to accommodate a connection into their ultimate curb location. We can install our curb and our widening here without having to widen all of 25. We are proposing the sidewalk along the road, and our current layout does take that into consideration for them doing the widening to provide for the bypass. If for some reason that project doesn't move forward, there's no need to widen the roadway. So we would just simply install our sidewalk.
So they can connect to, depending on who goes first, right? So they may finish before you may finish before them, but whoever's going first, actually whoever's going second could connect to whoever
Yes.
went first.
Yes, and
If both projects go.
correct. And the DOT, so both these projects require an encroachment permit from the DOT for the work within the right of way. And Tracy May in that district, who's the permit reviewer, we've been in contact with her. She's been in contact with, the applicant for the project across the street. We've been in contact with them too, sharing plans, sharing design drawings. We're both in lockstep in terms of what the ultimate condition should be.
Fabulous. The fencing that you're talking about, when you do the back side of the building, not that one. Nope.
Just along here.
Nope. Here we go. Yeah, yes. But go back to that other picture where you show the heights of the buildings in comparison to. Right there. So you said you're proposing a fence on the top?
Yes.
Okay, so that fence is just going to be like a green chain link to kind of blend in with the.
Correct, for fall protection.
Right, okay, so it's just solely for fall protection. It's not for, it's obviously not going to be for any kind of screening or anything because who's going to really see it?
Correct. Yeah, we're trying to accomplish that screening with the plans.
So if we get a hero coming in from the other side, he wants to come down, he's got a fence to, okay, good. Now at the bottom of that, so I know you say you're going to have you're going to have the natural face of the stone there.
Yeah, unless conditions require some sort of stabilization, and that could be shotcrete, that could be chain link fence netting down it, and that's really something that comes through once that's finally exposed and cleaned off. That's really.
Okay, so how does that work? So that gets cleaned off and you need to put something there. Do you have to come back in front of us or is that something you work with staff? Rick, how's that work?
Well, I think it's significant in nature. I want this commission to see that. That would be included in your resolution if you so want it.
Okay, so if they do need some sort of screening or fencing of some sort.
It's an important component. This commission needs.
That's not something you would normally handle on your own.
Well, I can't. I've done a lot of that in Shelton, but it's important for this.
Big rock.
It's all rock on Bridgeport Avenue.
I'll say this though, the rock in Shelton is soft compared to the rock.
Yeah, we're hard.
But here's the question.
Well, I told you not to interrupt me today.
So
I did not jump. I'm not asking one question.
I did.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Leon. You're the
You wouldn't
other
be
statesman.
opposed to putting the fence there.
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, and certainly if there's a need for it, but if the commissioner feels strongly about it, we can certainly agree to do it as well.
No, I just, my thing is I think those fences kind of look ugly when they are in that back area. I actually this is just me speaking. I don't know about the rest of the commissioners. I like the way that looks, but I also worry about the safety, especially with children being there and grandchildren, if they have grandparents living in these facilities or whatever. I mean, safety is obviously always first, but the actual look of the stone, to me, I mean, then again, my father was a mason, so they had the big, I had stones instead of rattles. So it would work for me to leave it the way it was. So, I mean, is there like say we go down that road and you do need some sort of protection from that side? Is there like like they get those big rocks, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and you lay them out. Is there something along those lines that would work, or would it be just, because that screening fencing, that mesh or that chain link fence that comes down, I mean, it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, like a netting across the entire face.
Correct.
Yeah, so we've been able to work on a number of projects that have significant rock cuts and have stabilized rock faces, right? In most instances, you know, when you first make that cut, you want that rock face to go through a freeze thaw cycle. So go through a winter season. And then what happens is any water it'll pop stuff that might be loose.
Sure.
We've actually had a chance to go through 2 freeze thaw cycles with a lot of the rock, and
That facing currently exists there now.
yes, most of it is gone.
Not getting touched at all.
No, it still needs to be thoroughly cleaned off. It needs to be, you know, any loose stuff needs to be kind of pulled down and things like that. And it does need to be, you know, maintained and managed, right? Once that takes place through, you know, with the geotech engineer, we'll be able to say, okay, maybe we need to do, if there are soft spots, you could do shotcrete, right? which is essentially a concrete spray that can still hit stable impact. You could do rock anchors, which you see sometimes on the highway. But that's all based on, that's a very site-specific condition that needs to be addressed as part of how that rock breaks. You know, based on our preliminary review, we believe that face, you know, can, and once it's cleaned off, be stable as just a face. But obviously that's something that has to kind of get really looked at once it's fully exposed. And then we can make any, you know, recommendations from a stabilization standpoint at that time. Now, I've had projects where it's completely stable, but you want to provide a chain link fence at the base just for additional catchment protection, you know, for those additional safety measures. It's not always necessarily required or needed, but, you know, it's certainly something that you know, we've implemented on other projects. If we were to do something like that, I'd probably propose just a black vinyl chain link, you know, black vinyl coated chain link fence, so it doesn't necessarily stand out and take away from it, because I kind of agree with you, Commissioner Meany. I think it is a nice aesthetic.
Would you, so I see you have plants there. Would you put the chain link on the inside of that plant and let the plants be on the outside of it? Or what are your thoughts?
You know, we have a large area back here. We wanted to design it so we had a large catchment area. I think, you know, we may end up, you know, we have some groupings of plantings proposed on our landscape plan. I'd probably end up recommending pulling those a little bit further away from the face and putting that fence along the face.
And the trees and
in front of it, yes. Now, again, we want to make sure this is something that needs to be maintained. You kind of continually go in there, just like, you know, other things that need to be maintained on the site. So we want to make sure, you know, we have appropriate gates and things like that to get access to the area.
Sure. I think that's the best approach with that stuff. Definitely have that fence on the inside. And okay. Now, you talked about school children, and they may come here from different Monroe L or whatever, because I believe this would be the Stepney. This would be the Stepney area. So say we do have Monroe L kids and we do have Fawn Hollow kids. They're getting to school by their parents then?
I believe. Yes. Yeah, I believe if a student starts in one school district and then moves to a different, I believe they can stay there, but it's up to the parents to drop them.
To get them. Have we designated the school bus drop-offs yet? Was it by the pool house or was it at the street?
So we've designed the site to accommodate school buses, heavy vehicles, things like that. I think the Board of Ed will ultimately make that decision, you know, if and when this project moves forward and they know how many school children, what age, what school.
So right now we have no designated area for them. So potentially they could come out to the street. So potentially they could come out all the way to the street?
They probably will have to. Usually the buses don't go on private property.
They go into Northbrook though, for elementary, they go into Northbrook. For middle school and high school, they go towards
I
the,
don't know if the roads in Northbrook are private roads. Are they maintained by the town? Do we know? Who plows in there? Does the town plow or does?
I don't know.
Oh, Northbrook.
Right now, according to the superintendent, the two projects that you've reviewed for the mixed-use shopping center, Route 25, this,
Right, that's my concern. Like, if you have children in
on
the,
further notice.
if you have children in these back buildings, any of those buildings, and then you got to go all the way down, I mean, that's quite a way.
Well, they're gonna drive them. They're gonna drive them to the bus stop. That's what they do.
Yeah, then it becomes, okay, correct. So then it becomes more of an issue of traffic. It becomes more of an issue of safety. There's a lot more to consider then.
Well, they're not leaving the property. They're driving up to the stop and going back home.
Yeah.
Right, but the bus stop on 25 is going to cause, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you have 17, they could be all in elementary school. We need to get on the bus, getting out of the car. You're going to back up 25 at that late, and it's going to be a nightmare.
Both ways. You're backing it up both ways, north and southbound. That's why I was wondering if there was a designated area. It'd be so, I understand the busing, they don't want to come off of 25. But truly, if the bus stop was the clubhouse, that would be ideal for safety.
I mean, if it's 17 kids, it's a full bus almost, right? How many kids do they put on a bus?
A lot.
They're crowded.
Are they?
Yeah.
The only other thought I could think is if you do the easement, if you make it, behind, you know, that road behind Dunkin' Donuts. I just don't want the bus sitting on 25 because.
But it's going to sit there for the other project anyway.
Well, it's different.
I don't want
Every other bus stop on 25. I mean.
Yeah, but that's one or two kids getting on. This is like a lot of kids. And I've been behind buses where you're getting a bunch of kids on and it takes a while. Especially if they're little, each parent, you know, is getting out of the car, if it's raining, if it's snowing and.
So we're happy to work with the Board of Ed on trying to locate a bus stop interior to the site or on the easement area behind Dunkin'. You know, whatever we can do.
I'm almost wondering if you, like, go back to the front entrance, please.
Just like a zoom in.
The one where you have the pretty little tree, yeah, right there.
Wetlands.
Yep. That's the other thing. I was thinking if that bus came in.
Still stop traffic.
Would still stop traffic, but it would be, I mean, still the same. All right.
I think if they can't go if they can't go up to the clubhouse, I would like to see it on that easement road.
The
Judd easement road. We'll get the bus off 25, the parents could park their cars back there.
That's not.
No.
So how does this work then with the bus route and kids?
I think from a you know, condition standpoint, you can condition that we work with the Board of Ed and I think the commission can maybe make a referral to them that they'd encourage that access.
Well, they have received a referral.
Yeah.
They're aware of the head count. And as it stands right now, just like the other project.
Yeah.
The bus stop is on Route 25.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't.
Subject to change on that.
Subject to change.
No, I understand. I get all that. But what I was,
Well, wait, I got one question to ask Rick so that we can stick on the bus thing here. So if Northbrook has the buses going into Northbrook, why couldn't the buses go into here?
No, it's a valid question.
Right, so the Board of Ed can't pick and choose where they want to put the buses in. If this commission has concern about the bus being on Route 25, then we need to bring that.
Yeah, well, this will be conveyed to the,
Yeah, you need to bring that up.
just my concern is say it is 17 kids, say it's 20 kids, say it's 2 kids, it's still a long way down there on 25. I don't understand why the bus can't just come up to the, I mean, it looks like there's a big rotary. I mean, I'm assuming you could fit a fire truck around there. If there was a fire, I'm assuming you could get around there.
Yes.
Right? So why can't that bus go there? I think, in my opinion, that's just the safest. And it also keeps flow of traffic, especially since these buses come in the morning. And then the bus can come out and whatever way it's got to go, it's got to go.
They're allowing for that if the Board of Ed's okay with it.
Yeah, that's a concern of mine. And you know what? I'm done for tonight.
Well,
No, just with him. I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah.
All right, well, concern that the rock face safety, I'm a fan of the natural barrier at the bottom. I'd rather not see a fence down there if possible. So at the end of this, who does make the decision whether or not this rock is stable? Is
So the geotechnical engineer is going to, do an assessment of that. And what I've seen in the past is prior to the issuance of any CO for any of these things, typically what would happen is the building official, the zoning official would kind of come out, in concert with the project engineer, the project's geotech engineer, and do an assessment. So for example, I just had a grocery store open that had a similar cut behind the building. And the building official, even though the rock was stable, they wanted to have a fence at the base just for additional catchment. So it ended up becoming a, condition, to be done before occupancy could take place. So I think that's probably what I'd assume would happen here. But I think, based on this discussion, I think, if the commission wants to include that as a condition to just install the fence for safety, or offer that we can install the fence without having to come back to the commission, I think that's also, a potential avenue that we can pursue.
If there's a better, more, aesthetically pleasing option, that's always something to, consider.
Yeah, but he said he was gonna put the fence behind the trees, so at least you won't even really see it then, which is better looking.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna push the trees back. He's gonna push that, then put the fence on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of nice.
Yeah. It's not desirable to go back there at that point, other than, Now, concerning this addendum B, I kind of just breezed through here because this was given to us tonight. And I do think the projected tax revenue increase on here, but for some reason, I'm always skeptical of these fiscal impact studies. Is there any governing body that tracks the accuracy of these reports?
I'm not sure.
When you think about it, anybody could present this and say, this is what we think is going to happen. Is there any accountability or accuracy attached to these studies?
I'm not sure. We weren't the author of it. Realty Concepts is a group that does fiscal impacts across the state. And they do that based on actual interviews with Board of Eds and police and EMS and fire. I think Rick can attest that he was a part of a lot of conversations with them as part of setting up those interviews and things like that, meeting with the assessor's office. I don't know if there's a check or how that really would get administered, so I'm not really sure.
There's no way for them to be 100% accuracy. Obviously, this is something that's subject to, the future. But, if you look back at the history of some of the reports that they've conducted over the years, there may be some way to see whether or not they're correct in their assessments. But the tax revenue is great with the extra units. That's all I have.
Kevin, can you remind me what the controls are in place for occupancy control? Like how many people are going to be allowed in each apartment?
Sure. So I know Howard Rappaport from Continental, he's unavailable tonight because of Jewish holiday, Passover. But I know we discussed that at length. So from a registration standpoint, they get registration for all the residents of all the units. And that's something that they actively kind of manage and maintain so that they can protect against, a unit being overpopulated or having people there that aren't, on a lease or aren't known by ownership. So I think there's that, they have a process, a mechanism in place so that they know who's and how many people are in each unit.
And the 17 school children, is that number the kids that you think are going to be new to town? Or does that include kids that we think are going to be moving from another location in town?
So that's a total school age kid estimate. So that's probably going to be, I would surmise that's going to be a combination of some that are, relocated and then some new.
Not to interrupt, but I'm going to. That's 17. That's 17. So if they move, say, from the Monroe L area to Pondview area, they're probably either selling their home or getting out of a rental in that home, and probably kids would hop into that home that they're leaving to come here. So I think the number of 17 could be true for here. For Monroe. But it may increase if they sell, say they're downsizing or something, and then that house that they're coming from is a 3-bedroom and they sell and they put, 2 more kids in there. So I think it's a true 17 when you think about from where they're moving to.
That's just what's running through my brain, that's all.
and I know we've talked about this at length, I just think 18 is a low number. I know we've talked about this. I just can't fathom out of 196 units only having 18 kids. And being a Stepney parent, I know how tight that school is now, and with the other possible project down the street, I'm very concerned how this is going to impact Stepney especially. My daughter now is in a class of 26. So it is a huge concern of mine. That I think 18 is low. But I don't have anything to compare that against. My other concern and question, kind of to Bruno's point, on Main Street, and I may have missed a meeting, is there going to be a turning lane if we are going northbound? Is there going to be a lane specifically for people turning left into this property so that people can still get around and keep going northbound without having to wait behind cars? Yeah.
No, this is cool. So, I don't believe there's a dedicated turn lane into that today.
Okay.
The DOT is very, strict and stringent on when they would allow for an additional turn lane to be installed. Their rule of thumb is you need 100 vehicles turning left during a peak hour to warrant its own lane. You know, based on our projections, you know, we only have 35 and 37 vehicles turning left into that driveway during the AM and PM peak periods. So that's, you know, and under today's conditions, there's only, 27 and 14 turning left into that driveway. So I don't think we would meet the warrants where the DOT would allow us to put in a left turn lane. I will say though that area is wide enough so that it does provide for a bypass, so that if a car is turning left, there's sufficient room for a car to continue north.
Okay. And then my last question, I promise, is where are we on the blasting schedule? How close are we to being done for these neighbors?
If we're not done, they will be done in the next probably 30 to 60 days.
Can we get an update on that? Are we done? Are we not done? Are we still blasting?
They were, I believe they may be done, or they have maybe, you know, the last schedule that I was told was they were going to be done and off the site by June. Okay. So I think that if they're not finished with, if they're finishing up, I'd be surprised if they have more than 4 to 6 weeks remaining.
I'm good for now. Thank you.
All right, any other questions from commissioners before we go to the public? All right, hearing none. Any members of the public here that would like to comment on this application, please make yourselves known by raising your hand. Yes, this gentleman right here. Come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Rick Smith. I live at 61 Hillcrest Road. Been a Monroe resident for a long time. You guys have heard from me twice, 3 times. This is the 3rd time. I sent in 2 letters to Richard and Mike. Concerned. My concern is mostly about population density in this very small area. We're talking about somewhere between 24 and 27 people living per acre on the available space. We're talking about, and I didn't see an estimate on the total number of occupants, but if you add the 372 autos, the 18 students, it is 18, that was the update. That's already 390. My calculations, and I tried to be conservative, I think there's going to be 412 and quite possibly 463 people living in this location. I looked at occupancy rates, did some calculations. I'm telling you, I think it's 412, 463. That really concerns me. I told you before, I commuted back and forth to Sikorsky for many years through this area. I know what it's like as far as the traffic is just nuts. Recently, I did a sidewalk. I hope each of you have done a sidewalk, but it's a mess. I mentioned last time the traffic infractions. When people get into a hurry or they're late to come home or going to work, whatever, they do things that they wouldn't normally do. We're pushing these people who are drivers to the edge. I'm telling you. I was out there for a peak hour just to verify that this is what happens. Right on red, even though the sign is clear, speeding through lights, forget about a yellow, pedestrians. I have a real concern with not just the 18 students, but the other children who are not of school age, who will be going to the convenience store and the burger place across the street and the pizza place across. They're going to be wanting to get across there. There was some talks about a pedestrian overpass or something like that, but honestly, and you talk about a sidewalk, I have a picture I took that there's no room for a sidewalk. It's right up there against the easement, conservation easement. There's no room. I wouldn't walk through that area now, let alone when there's an increase. The intersection, I think that the traffic assessment is flawed. I appreciate that they did one, but on pages 363 to 370, you'll see red letters saying collected during COVID-19 epic. The data is from 2020 or so, okay? It's not today. It doesn't include Gateway Commons. It doesn't include the convenience store. It does say that it's only 372 autos. That's what Kevin has said. That's what the documentation says tonight. 372 autos. It just seems like there's going to be a lot more traffic. And if you look at that, what's going to help that little lane behind Chestnut Market, that's only 24 feet. They got to take out the dumpsters. It's tight. You go out to the traffic light at peak hour, traffic is backed up for 20 some odd cars in either direction. And Judd Road and the other, it's a mess. Some of it can be absorbed, but I disagree with the current traffic assessment that there will be no negative ramifications in traffic. There will be. The DOT says it's an F, rated at F. The DOT also notes a very low level of service. It's terrible. I'm telling you, if you spend any time out there during peak, you'd say, well, you know what? We can't, if we put this many people in here, that's just crazy. All right, so I'm on the EDC in town. I took the same oath, I believe, as you did. That is to the Constitution and the laws of the state, to serve the people, not politicians, not pressure from the state. I appreciate that you may have pressure from the state, that you may have pressure from individuals to make this thing go through. I've told you previously, I want smart growth for Monroe. This is not. This is exorbitant. You took a good look at it. If the traffic assessment was done correctly, like they did at Gateway Commons, they would include a half mile in each direction, which would tell you some more of the story. And it would include the convenience store and Gateway Commons, obviously, now that they're approved. So we're going to allow $7 million or so in gross revenue in rental to go to an out-of-state owner. And that's fine. I get that to some degree, but do they have to take so much money away from us? And I agree with your housing, and I know you have a housing plan. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have apartments there. What I'm asking you guys to do is either have another traffic assessment done, or I would rather just cut to the chase and say, sorry, but we only want 4 apartment buildings with 28 apartments, or something a lot less, because the amount of children, I worry about the children. And I worry about everybody else like myself who, driving home from work, driving to work, it's nuts. I just hope that it's not as bad as I think it's going to be. But if you walk it and you look at what you're really proposing, and you look at some of these other things, I appreciate your concerns with the safety of the rock ledge. If I was a kid, I I was a mountain climber as a kid and was in the gunks of New York City. You kidding? Or in New York, I would climb there. You don't think the kids are going to try to climb on that? Come on now. 24 to 27 people per acre is just too much, too high of a density. I'm asking you, please, consider a limitation. I understand it was approved for a shopping center. I wish that it was a shopping center, because then you'd have the peak hours of the shopping center would not be in jive with the peak hours of this, but the peak hours of those 372 autos coming and going, it's going to be the same peak hours that we already have. It's just going to be a lot worse. I'm asking you, please tone it down a little bit. I know there's been some good work done, but I just hope, honestly, that we don't see an increase in traffic accidents, people getting hit by cars. If we do, and then Jacoby and Myers or some other chaser goes after it, and there's a class action suit that's going to ruin your retirement. I don't want that to happen. You're serving the people, and I ask you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, in the back. Please come forward. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry?
Just your name and address.
Yes. Hi, my name is Mira Orsillo. I live on 136 Stanley Road here in Monroe, and I'm also a member of the Save Our Stepney Task Force. I've been up here before. First of all, I drove a bus years ago, and I would not want to be the bus driver or bus drivers that have to come out onto Route 25 with a busload of kids. Really dangerous. Even if they get permission to have another road behind the Chestnut Market, you then come out to Judd. There's already so much traffic there at that light. You can barely get out there now, especially at peak times. And that would include the times that children are going to and from school. Something we really need to reconsider. I have friends who live in the development behind the proposed Pondview apartments, condos. And there's been children there who have experienced some health risks or potential health risks from the blasting. I appreciate what Commissioner Lupo's concern was tonight about hoping that's going to stop. There's been too much dust. Families have had to call DEEP because it hasn't been monitored closely enough. It continues to not be monitored well enough for the safety of all. I live on Stanley Road, and that's a couple of towns away, or a couple of streets away as the crow flies. And my house shook the other day. So, and I don't live all that close. It's Judd to Stanley. So there's concern there. The other thing that I don't know if you as commissioners are required to do a sidewalk of the neighborhood and of that entire area. I don't know what the rule is on that. If you have, wonderful. So you see some of the potential problems. If you haven't, I would urge you to do that. I believe it was requested by some other families up there. I don't know if it's been done. But I would urge you to do that if it hasn't already been done. Then I guess the elephant in the room is the long-term plan of development for Monroe. I think that needs to be looked at again, re-examined very carefully. We have to, again, consider what we want our town to look like for future planning. I think we need to look at maybe ordinances or moratoriums on the number of apartments, the number of condos. I don't know if we can legally do that. But in order to manage this town and plan, not just zone, but plan, I think we need to look at some restrictions and managing it for the safety of our kids and the rest of the citizens. So again, I thank you for these considerations. And I have one more request. I'm not sure, I'm a little hard of hearing. Are there active microphones that work? Because I know I'm having a little hard time hearing you folks. Do you each have microphones? Oh, yes. That's just me. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else here tonight that would like to comment on this application?
can we comment after we hear from the people on Zoom? Or is this our only opportunity?
Sure, you could wait if you'd like.
I'd like to wait.
Okay. Is there anyone online tonight? I think I did see a hand up. Can you bring up the people?
Yeah, Kevin, can we,
Can you stop sharing?
Oh, sure, sorry.
there we go, thank
All
you.
right, we have a few hands. We can start with Alicia Garfield.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. This is my third time representing the voice of the Monroe residents. At 58 Laurel Drive, I'm probably about 750 feet away from the blasting. I have three main points of concern. Two I've brought up before, one is new. I do recall when the quarry was first proposed that they were going to put up a fencing around the area, and I don't think that ever happened. And I agree with some of the concerns about the cliff. I don't know if it's 200 feet high, 300 feet high. There's a lot of residents on Crescent and Little Fox with young children, and their backyards drop. Well, I'm sure that there's like a little bit of buffer, but imagine a young child running around and playing and not paying attention. There really should be some protection up there for these children because they're children, right? So that's my first concern. My second concern, I brought up the two other times. One being that I also think that the traffic numbers are quite low. The modified proposal spreadsheet shown this evening shows 372 cars total, with about 20%. I think the number was 72, so it's roughly 20% leaving during peak hours. I've got to imagine more people than that would travel to work in the morning and in the evening. And lastly, the number of children. I do believe that 17 is extremely low for 196 apartments, which were last time told to us as 2 and 1 bedroom. It was not mentioned verbally during this call, but I noticed on the spreadsheet that there's now some 3-bedroom apartments within the complex that was not there before. So, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that makes my assumption of there's going to be more kids than 17 even higher, because we're a town of what, 20, 30,000. I don't know the number offhand. We're not moving the population into these apartments. We're going to be getting people from outside of Monroe, especially with all the publicity to how Monroe is such a great town and all of the New York City people coming to Monroe. I love it here. I want to see us still have great schools. They are overcrowded as is. And I know I love for the community to grow responsibly, but I just think that there's too many apartments here. And, I would love them to be condos, but as from an apartment perspective, there's just too many there. And I hope that the Planning and Zoning Committee considers the town's concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Garfield.
We've got to be really clear here. There's no 3-bedroom apartments. We don't allow them.
There is not.
Yeah, it says 0 on the spreadsheet next to the
There's 0. We don't allow them.
It's pretty cut and dry, so.
All right, I see Larry Tobias's hand.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I live at 25 Little Fox Lane, and on the sustainability map that Solely Engineering provided, on the western side, or the side that parallels the Little Fox Lane, I see a gap in the trees. Is there some reason the trees are not continued in one continuous straight line?
Mr. Tobias, go ahead with all of your comments and questions, and we'll try to answer them at the end.
Okay.
Somebody's cutting in. Go ahead, Mr. Tobias.
I finished. That was my only comment on tree line.
Okay. All right, thank you. I see another hand, Tara Croce.
Yeah, hi. It's actually, so it's Anthony and Tara Cross. We're at 34 Little Fox Lane.
Go ahead, Dan.
So my concern is mainly over the recent blasting over the last 2 weeks or so. Now, look, I've kept my mouth shut pretty much the entire time this has been going on. We bought the house last year, so we knew kind of well, I'll use mess as the term that we were getting ourselves into. It hasn't bothered us that much up until this point where I look outside my bathroom window the other day and they're placing explosives 3 truck lengths away from my property line. Now, I have no idea what the laws, rules, or regulations are on that. But I have multiple, actually the fire marshal told me that they measured from the air conditioner hooked up to the west side of my house. But there's plenty of other structures on my property to include a finished barn, solar panels, a propane tank, pool filter, plumbing for that and everything. And it was a little alarming to see the drill and the explosives going right there, 20 feet from my kid's playground. But what was even more irritating was when I called the fire marshal, he showed up, we walked over there. Some guy in a hard hat told me that I wasn't allowed to stand as close as I was in my own yard that I purchased with my money that I pay taxes on. That was a big problem to me. So I have plenty of pictures, videos. I filed a report with the state police. The fire marshal is tracking. And I do plan to move forward with legal action if necessary, if it continues to be that close to my property line. In addition to that, I also share the concern about the giant cliff face, 15, 20 feet away from my property line. It seems a little strange that if they're required to put a fence up after the establishment of the buildings, why is there no fence up currently when, I mean, I don't know how far the drop is, but you guys get the point there, I'm sure. And then lastly, just curious as to the rationale behind the 40-foot dirt pile right on the other side of my property line. Why that has to be built like that and not just spread out. It seems a little bit deliberate and a little strange in my opinion. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there any other people online tonight that would like to comment on this application? Please raise your hand. I think everyone has had a chance. Ms. Lindstrom, would you like to bring up the rear on this?
Kathy Lindstrom, 298 Guinea Road. Just a quick question. So all the people are shown, because it says there's 18, but we don't see 18 names. Are you able to see everybody? I'm sure everybody has their chance.
Yeah, no, they would put their hand up. We could see their hand up.
There's 18.
Yeah, it's 18 bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So, you know, sometimes we all have great ideas. We have good ideas. And sometimes they just plain don't work. And this is one of those projects that I seem to, I'm not a neighbor, blasting, excavating, none of that affects me, other than the fact that I live in Monroe. And what my concerns are, a couple of things. Could you point out for me where the wetlands are on this property, where they were, are, is?
I can do it at the end.
Okay, that's fine. I just visually would just like to see where they are. As far as the traffic concern is, I do believe planning and zoning has the right and maybe sometimes the obligation to conduct their own traffic study, and I would suggest that they hire somebody to do that, because there seems to be a lot of concern marrying this project with the project that's going on the Trumbull-Monroe line, the project that's going to senior development that's going up across from the car wash. I mean, there's a lot of things happening, and maybe having a different approach and planning for all this activity would be in everybody's best interest. I I question the number of students, having been in town when Northbrook was first proposed and developed. They said there aren't going to be any children there because they're all going to be one-bedroom apartments. Oh, well, they'll be sort of lofts. There might be some two-bedrooms, but, you know, there's not going to be more than 2 bedrooms. And who's going to want to have children there? And we're not putting in any playgrounds, and we're not going to put anything that's going to encourage children until the buildings roll up and people moved in and the lofts became extra bedrooms. And there's plenty of children that live there. We can't legislate who lives someplace. I expect that these apartments will be the same. There will be people who move in, and ultimately there'll be more children just because it's going to be a great place to live. And so therefore, why not have more children? Northbrook still has no playgrounds. Has nothing to encourage, no bike, there's nothing to encourage children, and yet they're all there. So that is a concern. Thank you for clarifying the no 3-bedroom units, because that's a rumor that's been going around, and I guess that was the wrong rumor.
Yep.
I also think that, as I said, my first statement was that sometimes it's a good idea, but it's a wrong, it just doesn't work. This project, adding to this density on that site and not having access on Judd Road, it's like the buildings are all, everything's in the wrong place. It's just not configured well enough to accommodate what needs to be done, including the residents, including the traffic, including the school buses. It's just not, it just isn't making good sense to me. I'm not against apartments. I think they're a fine idea. This time, this place, not so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindstrom. All right, anyone else, either online or in person, that would like to comment on this application? If not, then we'll go back to the applicant. And I mean, I did see that mound of soil in the gentleman's backyard. I mean, it's quite obtrusive, and it looks like it's almost antagonistically left there. I mean, it dwarfs his house practically. Is there a way you could move that before the project's completed?
Sure.
You're asking for the goodwill of the neighbors, and then you have this. I mean, it was quite striking, actually, from the road.
Sure.
And is there a fence on top of the cliff at this point?
Said there wasn't one.
Yes, there is.
There's one proposed, there's not one currently. So I'm just gonna,
Hold on for a minute. There's no safety fencing up there at all?
There's protection in the form of boulders in accordance with regulations for doing the earthwork. There isn't a fence out there.
So there's nothing to prevent somebody from falling off that wall?
I mean,
there's no safety fencing put on that. Who keeps an eye on that, Rick? There should be fencing on top of that thing from that to prevent any.
I agree.
And then why is that not shut down until that's done?
No, that's an important issue.
The excavation fill permit?
It is.
So the activity, sure. So the activity being conducted on the site right now are based on the previous approvals granted on the property for the shopping center development. So all that excavation is taking place underneath that, those approvals. The excavation, when you look at the surrounding areas, one of the comments raised, I think that resident is up in this corner.
Yes.
We're the closest part of that rock cut located here, which is actually, I think it may actually be past their property. That's 35 to 40 feet away from the property line, and then it tails away from there. So I don't believe, I'm not sure again where people were standing or what, but we're quite some distance.
I understand that, but there's got to be something put up there for a small child or some kid walking behind there at night or something like that. There's got to be some kind of fencing put up there that's part of the construction deal that prevents that from happening. Because God forbid if somebody fell off that thing. Thank God it didn't happen now, but there should have been something up there. And we should have required that when we approved this.
That's right.
Be some kind of fencing up there.
It's old.
It was not included in the original approval.
Doesn't make a difference.
So you're right on that.
So.
Public safety is public safety.
Well, but the activities that are taking place from a site work standpoint, they can't install fence that would be impacted by that activity, because then you.
Kevin, they have,
Fence.
Kevin,
You have to-
they have fence that doesn't go into the ground. You understand what I'm saying? They have fence where they have, where they're.
Like an orange construction fence?
Not even, no, there's pods on the back of them and this and that, so that goes around there and it connects to each other. It doesn't definitely get into the ground. I've seen a bunch of construction sites.
Chain link construction fence?
Right, strange link construction. That should have been there a long time ago. It should have, you have a 200-foot drop there, no?
No.
What is it?
Not even close. I'm not sure where that estimation came
Oh,
from.
what is it?
It's 35 to 40 feet tall.
But still, somebody can get killed there like that. And that should have been, we should have required that before this started going on. And I thought that maybe that was part of their construction permit, that would be done, because most construction sites would do that. And I don't understand why that's not there, and it should be there. And so somebody's gonna have to address that. If they have another 2 or 3 months there, they're gonna have to address that over there. They're gonna have to.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have to say.
No, it's not.
So I just want to respond to a couple of those elements. I know one of the questions was, where are the wetlands? So the wetlands are basically are located kind of the unscreened or uncolored part of this plan. So the wetlands are all the way over here on the north side, and they're within this area here on the east side. The activity for the development is predominantly outside of the regulated area. We're more than 100 feet away from the wetlands, and the site has received wetland approval for the project. So that was one question, and it's something I wanted to point out. You know, I know there were a lot of concerns raised about the traffic and the legitimacy of the traffic study that we prepared. So I know, as we talked about in past applications, so the beauty of this project is it's of a size that the DOT has to do an additional review as part of this. So beyond just the encroachment permit, work within the right of way, the Office of the State Traffic Administration also is reviewing this project, our traffic study. As part of that review process, they have to review all of our volumes. They have to review our trip generation. Trip generation is established based on industry standard generation rates from the Institute of Transportation Engineers, based on similar comparable projects on both a local, regional, and national standard. So we're pretty confident that we believe our trip generation numbers are accurate. The DOT has our traffic study. They're reviewing our traffic study. They have to review and approve all of our volumes, and we won't be able to move forward until we satisfy their requirements. I know there are statements that everything's failing. The signal at Purdy Hill and Judd isn't failing. It operates at a level of service. We're maintaining that level of service. We're not degrading that level of service. There was a comment that the site doesn't have access to Judd Road. The site does have access to Judd Road via that driveway behind the Dunkin' Donuts and the gas station. So this site does have access to Judd Road outside of Route 25. You know, there were comments about too many kids. You know, again, the Stan Yudnowski at Realty Concepts does this for a living. He feels very confident with the estimation of school age children, and I know we discussed that at length throughout the life of this permitting of this project. There was comments about on Route 25, there's no room for sidewalks. We are proposing to widen that shoulder and widen the area outside of the travel way so that there is adequate room to put in a sidewalk. We are proposing that and reviewing that with the DOT as part of that work, and that's all been designed and shown on the drawings, what that looks like. There is a fence proposed. Once the grading activities are completed, a fence will be installed along the entirety of the top of that rock wall for wall protection. And again, I hear the concerns regarding about preventing people from trespassing onto the property. You know, we can certainly work to see if there's a way to put in some temporary fencing around the perimeter to protect against potential, you know, someone trespassing and making a bad decision. Hopefully there's no young kids there at night, but we're certainly willing to address that concern. Again, just to reiterate, there are no 3-bedroom units proposed, just 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. We talked about that. There were some comments about, you know, we had trees shown in this corner again to to address some of the trees that were cut down on our property, I think prior to the ownership of 34 Fox Run. We weren't proposing any trees along the westerly side. This is all state-owned land, so we weren't proposing any additional trees there because there's a significant buffer there already. You know, and then in the area in between here, there is no, it's just wooded area, so we weren't proposing trees here because there's a thick, dense vegetation, behind it. If the commission feels strongly, we can certainly add some additional tree plantings, to cover the entirety of the southern property line. And again, while I'm here as the project engineer for this project, I'm not necessarily out there all the time. I hear the concerns raised about the blasting. I know that the contractors who are out there doing this work, they're my understanding, they're doing everything in accordance with all of the appropriate requirements. They have valid permits through the fire marshal's office, and I appreciate the concerns raised, and I certainly hope that the people out there are being responsive and trying to make sure they're doing the right thing. And again, we're much further away from, we're not 20 feet from property line, 50 feet from property line. We're 40 feet from our property line, and then we taper away further from that. Regarding that stockpile of material up there, the site itself, there's so much rock removal that has to take place. They wanted to put that overburden in a location where it could sit and be out of the way. Now that they're finishing a lot of that activity on the lower portion of the site, they can move that pile and get that back down and brought back down to the lower elevation, so that can, it's certainly, I don't believe anything is being done with an effort to intimidate or anything like that. And I'll certainly talk to the owner and the contractors that are out there to make sure that's not being the case. We certainly don't want that to happen. And I think, again, it was just kind of stockpiled there because that was an area that wasn't otherwise being excavated. So we need to get that material out of the way. So we can certainly talk about trying to sooner rather than later. I think that covers, or at least tries to be responsive to some of the questions raised. I mean, anything else the commission may have, happy to discussion.
So do we have any other
I got one
questions up here?
Whoa.
Sorry?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask Mr. Tobias on the phone. I know you were concerned with the gap in the trees, and Kevin just showed there's the reason why there's no trees there. Do you have anything else to share with us as to what your concern is with no trees being there?
He fell asleep.
I think he's north of that. There are trees.
I'm just wondering why that was a concern of his, like what was, he was concerned about that.
Well, the trees are proposed. I think we have.
I don't think, you still there, Larry? If not, going to Leanne.
Again, we're happy if the commission wants to include a condition that we extend the plantings along the entirety of the southern property line. I think the applicant's happy to do that.
I would like that personally, just.
Screening where you need the screening.
Right, that's what I wanted to know, was there a particular reason why it's being asked for?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Leon, you have a question?
Of course, the easement behind is paved.
The easement?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the paved driveway behind.
Right. You gonna mark that?
In what way?
Stripe it, stripe it so that these people know that that's a roadway to get out there. And then put a sign on the bottom there that they can use that to go that way.
We can certainly add some signage for that. But I think anyone who's been there, I think it's,
I like to direct them that way if I could possibly get them going that way.
Okay. I think we can certainly propose a sign here, access to Route 25 via Judd Road, to turn left for people coming out of the center. I'm happy to, out of the development, I'm happy to.
Put a little stop sign there on the end of that thing over there I'm talking about, where you come in the easement.
Yeah, I think there's a stop sign here now coming from Judd Road.
There is. All right.
Yeah.
There's one on both ends.
Yep.
That was the only other concern I had.
Oh. All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? From staff? Okay, back to the applicant. Are you ready to close the application?
I think we would. I think we've tried to do our best to be responsive to some of the comments. I know we've added quite a bit of additional screening, and with mature trees to be planted at installation. Again, this has been a very long process that this commission has been very good to work with throughout. We It's been several steps, and we're finally to this special permit application. And I want to, thank staff and the commission for this application. I'd like to think that what we have proposed is something that, could be a very good addition to the community. I think it will have a considerable impact from an economic standpoint. It'll help the town provide, additional housing options that are, that has been identified in the POCD. It adds an affordability component, as 10% of the units will be affordable. And I think we've managed it the best we can with limiting the 1 and 2 bedrooms, no 3 bedrooms. From a use standpoint, I know there's concerns about traffic, but this development is the most optimal from a traffic generation standpoint because it is such a nominal generation. The previously approved shopping center had, I want to say 800 trips in a peak hour on the Saturday peak period, which is far greater and far more impactful than what we're proposing here. And again, the commission should take comfort that the DOT is also doing a very detailed review of this as well. So, with that, I think the project complies with the zoning regulations. It complies with the planning conservation development. And, we thank you for your consideration.
Ready to close it? Commissioners, all right, hearing is hereby closed. Going on to our second public hearing tonight, SCP 2023-05, file number 16538. This is 65 Turnpike and, yeah, go ahead.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing in accordance with CGS 8-7D. A public hearing will be held on Thursday, April 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting with in-person attendees located at Monroe Town Hall. SCP 2023-05, file number 1653A, 1565 Monroe Turnpike, special exception permit application for proposed conversion of existing warehouse to an event venue located at 1565 Monroe Turnpike, assessor's map 150 lot 01, Anthony Galbo, owner, Edward and Associates LLC representative. Notice was published twice in Voices on Wednesday, March 22nd and March 29th.
And Rick?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have exhibit number 1, application and plan set, exhibit number 2, return of record. And Mr. Chairman, it should be stated that the applicant is still awaiting a letter from Health Director, so the hearing needs to be continued. Thank you.
Hey, for the applicant.
Yes. Hey, how are you doing? My name is Dwight Hall. Just a little bit about myself. I am a Connecticut photographer. Specialize in weddings, small events, studio photography, that nature. What I'm trying to do now is expand my business. Currently, I have a space in Hamden, Connecticut, 1700 Dixwell Avenue. That space currently we do photo shoots and small events. I've seen a current need in that area, so now what we're doing is looking to take it to broader market at this point and going to Monroe. The space at 1565 Monroe Turnpike, what we're looking to do is occupy 3,000 square feet for a small event space. Not so much of an event venue like a concert or anything like that, something real intimate, more for bridal showers, baby showers, small kids parties. Something similar to like a potluck where folks will bring food from home, occupy the space for 5 to 7 hours, and then go home. What we have in our space, we have something called the 4 O's. 4 O's is no open cups, on-site security, no overnight events, and us just being on top of our licensing and insurance. The space itself has about 80 parking spaces, and I think the owner is looking to take it to maybe 90. At any given time, we're thinking of having just about 50 folks occupy the space. We have parking up front, which is about 32 spaces, and to the rear, the additional spaces make up to about 80 to 90 spaces. Our business is very, very cut and dry. Just a white canvas, white floors, white walls, a couple of chandeliers. Just give someone the opportunity where they don't have to go to a bigger venue and spend astronomical number to, have an event where they could come to our space and have something very intimate with their family and friends. I have some notes here as well. Our event space business will provide a unique and customizable event space that will cater to various events such as weddings, corporate events, small events, and other special occasions. Our event space business will target individuals and businesses in our local area. Our research indicates that there is a high demand of event spaces in this area and surrounding area, with most venues often booked up 6 months in advance. Our target customers include engaged couples, event planners, corporate organizations, and individuals who are hosting events or special occasions. To reach our target customers, we will employ various marketing and sales strategies, such as social media advertising, print advertising, and online listings. We also will attend local events and network with event planners, wedding planners, and other event trends and things. Our event space business is well positioned to meet the needs of our target customers and capitalize on the growing demand for event spaces in our local area. With a well thought out business plan and effective marketing and sales strategies, we are confident in our ability to have success in this competitive industry. I think for this area, it's something where someone in this time, especially with the market how it is, interest rates are going up, everything is pricey. I think we bring in a sigh of relief where someone doesn't have to go bankrupt trying to afford a wedding or have a kids party. We can come to our event and still get that luxury feel for a discounted price. That's it.
Hey, thank you. And I'll see if any of the commissioners have any questions. I'll start on my left.
No questions yet.
Can you go over those 4 O's again?
Sure. 4 O's is no open cups. Basically, we're not selling alcohol in the space. On-site security. Someone was going to mandate the parking situation and also no loitering outside. No overnight events. So our events at max, we should be closing our doors by 11 p.m. And just making sure we have the appropriate licensing and insurance. So therefore, if anything wants to happen, that we're covered. And also what I missed as well, we're not going to have a kitchen. Because like I said, it's like a potluck. So where folks are like, hey, Dominic, you can bring chicken, Ryan, you can bring salad, whatever the case may be, and then everyone come together and just use the space for that specific use, and then that's it. So it's pretty cut and dry. If anything, it's very self-automated in a sense. Just need like something similar to like a major D, like a host to be there, and a security guard just to make sure everyone's in compliance. And that's it. Yeah, nothing too drastic. Like I said, white canvas, couple of chandeliers. Everyone come in, enjoy the space, and leave at a certain time.
No, like live entertainment or anything? Just have a DJ?
No live entertainment, just a DJ. So DJ will be probably the loudest noise in a sense. DJ, event planners come in, decorate the space. We normally accommodate about 50 people in the 3,000 square feet space. And then for us, I call it the MVP, the minimum viable product in a sense, where put less in and get a lot out of it in a sense. So if I can just open up my doors and people occupy the space and then leave, someone comes in, clean the space, and then kind of rinse and repeat at that point.
Were you planning on any fortifying the sound deadening characteristics or insulation in the building?
The owner already has that set up for such. He assured me that everything that he's doing right now has sound barriers to make sure the space is soundproof. I think right now we have maybe 3 tenants, including myself. I believe there's a church in one space. Space in between is unoccupied right now, and then I'm looking to lease the end cap space there.
And what was the maximum occupancy you were considering?
50.
50.
Yeah.
It's pretty small.
So like I said, a very small, intimate situation, nothing too drastic, nothing too vulgar in a sense.
What is the square footage over there?
3,000 square feet.
3,000? Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
Rob, Rob took a lot of my questions. So basically, you're just providing space.
The space, that's it. Simple as that.
So for 3,000 square feet, you're only putting 50 people in there?
Well, that's what we estimate, the 50 people. After doing some math and doing research, 3,000 square feet space with people seated with tables and chairs can hold up to 75 to 100 people if needed. The way we will structure our business is to make sure if we do go over a certain amount of people that we're charging folks for a little bit more than that. Security guard would keep track of that number of folks that we have in there to kind of control the occupants that we have in there. And then also, obviously, I expect like the fire marshal to come in and let us know exactly what that number is, but we're hoping for at 50 max. Yeah.
So, okay. So if I throw a party at your place, I know how many invitations I send out.
Right.
How are you? So you're telling me that the security officer is going to monitor the amount of people in there, but if I have 70 people come instead of 50, he's going to tell them to leave?
Right. So once again, it's not perfect because, with anything, you have, people go on a bus or a train and certain occupancy, and they kind of go over that. Our goal is to, one, obviously inform our client what the rules are.
So you're basically marketing to a smaller group. You don't, you're marketing towards, I want maximum X amount of people.
That's correct, yes. So we're not looking to be something like the Waterview that's in Monroe.
Yeah, well,
something smaller. So I guess in theory we'll be competing with Waterview, but in
very different kind of business.
Right.
It's an application and a liquor license.
Right. So we're not doing it to that level, but if someone's there and feel, well, this is a more about budget, they can our space and say, okay, this is something I can do and I can, afford.
So for now, I'm good.
So you don't plan on serving any alcohol?
No.
Okay. And then, how many spaces do they have total there for that? For all those 3 tenants?
It's 80.
80 total?
We have 80 parking spaces right now.
Total. So how many, if you divide it up, how many would they have?
So the church required for their services 30.
Yep. At least 50.
Yeah, and that leaves 50 for this and the third unknown tenant. So the commission, that's why you're having public hearings, because it's change of use. So we are keeping track now.
Also keep in mind, our occupancy is not like everyone else's. So more than likely throughout the week, we probably won't be there. For the most part, most events that we've catered to are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We give discounts during the week because that's normally our silhouette time, but typically Friday, Saturday, and Sundays will be occupying space.
So as of right now, no conflicts with the 2 tenants. The church is on Sunday,
No, I have that. So I know that they have, I got the shared parking part.
Yeah.
But then there could be a conflict.
Yes, that's why we have public hearings on all the new tenants coming in.
So the next tenant, we're gonna, if they come in and say, we're gonna work on only on weekends, we're gonna be like, well, can't park.
But we can't really do that, right?
Sure you can.
We can deny somebody not having parking.
That's why you have an SCP. That's right.
If their use is for weekend only.
So we
allowed shared
So we would have to allow him a certain amount.
That is correct.
Right now.
And the applicant is saying up to 50 guests. I'm sure, how many people usually come in a car to your handling facility?
It depends, but we normally never, if it's 50 guests, we normally don't have 50 cars. Chances are everyone that comes with their own car is very slim, especially if someone comes to this type of space where it's, economy friendly. So my guess is there will probably be 2 or 3 people riding in each car face.
What staff will do is mark up, this hearing has to be continued because of the health.
Right.
Let's mark up the site plan and show how the.
Exactly what, we're in a site plan to show what spaces are gonna be.
We'll work it out.
What spaces are for the church?
Yes.
Spaces are other, how many square feet is left? How many square?
Is that, what's in the middle, 5,000?
This middle, I believe it's 5,000, correct. So the middle space is much bigger than the other two spaces.
So who owns the building right now?
This is Boar's Head?
Boar's Head owns it, right? I need to know parking spaces. All right, so come up with a plan.
If I rent out this place, am I allowed to bring in catering, like a catering company?
Yes, but in a sense where they would just be able to use like sterns, in a sense.
Yeah, they would. There's no kitchen,
Right, no
so
kitchen.
so they can cater.
They wouldn't be able to cook on site, but they can use things to warm.
Because we're planning and zoning. I'm not 100% sure of the health department, but I have a feeling they're going to have an issue with potluck. That's something that I don't think, from my history of trying to have a potluck in town, they don't allow it. So you might have an issue there, but they'll keep it open and see what they have to say. But just letting you know ahead of time to think about that it might have to become more of a catering hall in a sense, where that's how the food comes in, through caterers only that have basically are registered with the health department. You might have to accommodate that. So just a heads up. That's it for me for now.
All my questions were already answered.
Okay. So as this is a public hearing, next I'm going to invite the public to comment on this application. If there's anyone here tonight that would like to comment, please raise your hands. If not, is there anyone online that would like to comment on this application?
Rick, can we show the people online?
Kevin, can you eliminate the screen?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay, he's going to do it.
Thanks, Kevin.
See if there's any hands up. You can see from here too.
Yeah. We like to see the yellow hands.
Is there anyone online that would like to comment on this application? Please raise your hands. Saying none, and we have no further questions here. Do we have any further questions here?
You just said online, you didn't say anybody out here.
Yeah, we did. Anyone here? Oh,
There you go.
okay. All right. So,
The security that you're providing.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are you going to staff that?
Outside company.
Outside company?
Right.
So you're going to have security by the number of people that you bring in that.
Right. So normally we would,
Amount.
right. So normally we'll have two, one inside, one outside. Just to make sure everything is in order. Only the events that we have is not rowdy, but just to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe.
And then you would, I believe the security would then be sent to the department saying that they have their own security, right?
That's correct.
And then you would get that ahead of the event, right? That's all I wanted to know. And that's what would be part of the, okay, that's all I have. Thank you. So you say you're only going to work, the focus of this is just going to be primarily, right, parties some Thursdays, mostly Friday, Saturday, Sunday type stuff. But you said you own a photo company?
Yes.
You're not going to use the space for that?
No, because I already have a space that we're doing that in. For me, I just need something that's strictly just that. Okay. Again, that part, I just be too spread thin as that part.
all right, very good. Then we'll continue this hearing till next meeting.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have
On the 20th.
the Department of Health at that point.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
So that closes the public hearing portion of tonight's agenda. We do have a site development plan next. This is 97 Cozy Ring Road. Attached.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, all the commissioners.
I don't have that.
I don't have that.
I got it. Yeah, it's in the packet.
Remind me. Track that statement. Track my statement. I have it.
So I have it.
Two of them, if anyone needs an extra.
I'm not paying attention.
Mr. Chairman, this is the first submission under the new regulation allowing a detached accessory dwelling unit in the RF3 zone.
And just a name and address for the record, please. So you were here a year ago, wasn't it?
It's been a long process.
Yeah.
So,
He participated in the text amendment.
Right.
I have been, every time I come, I've been told to do something else. So
Yes, that's what we
my point
did.
is we do everything that you asked for. So we need this.
So, Mr. Chairman, the commission's charge is really architecturals and look at the house location. And the applicant will talk about how he plans on installing or hooking up to the septic system. And on-site parking issues. So those are the three concerns. You have control in the architecturals. This is a ranch that's elevated, you said, right? So that's why you have the stairs that walk up. It's kind of like a raised ranch, but it is it's a ranch that's raised. Downstairs is the utility room.
Rick, that was funny. Not a raised ranch, it's a ranch that's raised.
It's not a raised. I got caught in that debacle.
That's a good one.
It's not a, that's a good one.
Well, as someone who, that's English is not his primary language, these things cause a lot of confusion. Especially when you tell me to break a leg and that's supposed to be a good thing.
Okay, so the septic system. Tell us about how that's going to.
So the septic system the original plan was to connect it to the current septic to the house. However, the health department recommended that we put in a separate septic system because the lot is so big and it's so far away. So that being said, I have been in contact with an engineer and a gentleman who would be installing it. So last Thursday, they conducted soil testing. The results of that soil testing was, I believe, given to the health department. So I believe everything went well, but I think the person in charge has had COVID or something.
Oh, of course. All right, so we'll need the health department to come back with that.
Yes.
And then utilities will be coming off the main house?
No,
How does that work?
separate utilities.
Separate utilities?
Just the lot is so big because it just makes it's easier for me to pull the utilities from the street than to pull it from the main house.
Where's the driveway going to connect?
The driveway is already there. There is the gentleman who I purchased the property from. I believe originally wanted to build a house there. So right on Julius Ring Road, there is, if you look towards the road, there's a driveway currently already there that is just covered with leaves and stuff like that.
And it goes right up to the house where the garage is going to be?
Yes.
What's your maximum?
1,000.
1,000?
Yeah, one bedroom. He had
1,000 square feet.
Yeah, he had to modify the floor plan.
It has it here as 1,200. And 1,276. 1,276 square feet.
1,000 max.
1,000 max.
Well, isn't that including basement, garage, porch, and deck? How does that work?
This is his house.
Living space?
Living space,
What is it?
1,000 square feet. Living, right?
Finished living space.
That would be main floor?
Main.
The first floor is the utility room and storage.
He's already 276 over here.
Yeah.
The other question I have is why do we have a stairwell going up into the attic for storage?
Because it's a storage attic.
I understand that, but that could turn into be 2 more bedrooms. That's the issue I have with that, because if you want it for storage, then put in a
drop.
A full string.
Yeah.
String drop.
Can't have steps.
Mr. Chairman, these are the controls that you have.
I have a walk-up stairwell to my attic. It depends on how the house is structured.
Mike, we're approving something for 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's
I'm saying with this, you could put 2 bedrooms upstairs.
With the dormers.
I don't think you don't have an issue with
Saying that?
I don't have an issue.
Yeah, tell the chairman.
I'd rather have it because the house is pretty small. I'd rather have the storage space up there, then it makes it easier for me, but if you have an issue with it, I can change it.
So I don't know about the other house, but a lot of houses, the access to the storage, instead of being a standing staircase, it's you pull a string and the stairs come down. So what you would actually do is you'd actually end up with more room where that staircase is.
But a smaller area to lift upstairs.
And then a smaller area to get up there. So you'd still have all the same storage area up above. It just wouldn't be a staircase that's always there. You would just.
You pull it out of the ceiling.
You pull it down.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
I think we have modified.
Okay.
And you just have to modify the floor, the square footage.
I was hoping that you would allow it the way it is, I mean, to be quite honest, but I know the maximum is 1,000 by a couple hundred square foot. I think that would make my life and my family's life a little bit more comfortable if the honorable panel would.
But see, what happens with that is that we set a precedence here, that if we give it to you, then the next guy gonna come down, he's gonna ask for us to do that. He's gonna ask for us to do that.
I don't think it's something.
So, but I'm saying we do, because it's like, if I give it to you, and I gotta, somebody else is gonna come in front of me, and they can say, oh, well, you gave it to this guy, and you gave it to this one, you gave it to that one. That's why we put a maximum of 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, but with the removal of the stairs, does it go over 1,000?
It's already over 1,000 now, it's 176.
Yeah, Rob, the architect has to modify it.
Okay.
Right.
And they take that into consideration also, because it's going to get even bigger with the staircase going.
Right. So I'm saying to you is that it's hard for us. We came up with a number. We haven't increased the number because it used to be 900 or 800 at one time.
Yeah.
800 square feet. And we increased it to 1,000. And to make it work with it. And that's what we agreed on. I'm just saying to you is that we can't just change it for each application. We just can't do that. I mean, if the fire marshal had a concern with it or something like that and came in front of with that maybe we could change it. We can't just change it for every application that comes in. That's the maximum. You want to go less? Not a problem. But you're already there.
But you're okay with the rest of the stuff?
The rest of the stuff, I don't have an issue. Like I said, you got to remove the steps. The garage.
You need windows going into an attic.
Well, you don't need windows going into an attic.
That doesn't affect anything.
That doesn't really affect anything. The only reason why I think those were there.
It looks nice, dude. Leave the windows alone.
I like the door. I like the door.
Absolutely, the dormer's beautiful.
It adds to it.
So,
Zoning Board of Appeals, can they weigh in on the square footage?
The applicant has a right to go there, but you also have a right to recommend to the board. Yeah, this is the very first one, so it's
Giving them the information. There's another board that you could appeal to.
I like to get the project started.
I thought so.
I like to know what it is that you like me to do and I want to do.
Well, following the rules to begin with, you started quicker.
Shave 276 square feet off the building and
25.
drop down staircase.
you gotta
And get the health department approval for the standalone septic.
just a little over our requirement.
We want to see it. This is our first point. We do want to see it.
Right, yeah.
So we're going to meet again in 2 weeks, so we'll get that.
Okay, I'll have it done by then. Hopefully we'll get the septic test come back.
Yeah, she'll be in on Monday.
This is gonna stay open, right?
Yes.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yep. And the garage, everything is okay, I can have that, that's fine?
Okay.
The garages, because that's just an extra structure.
Yeah, that's, accessory.
Footage.
No, it's just accessories to the main house.
And you can't turn that into a living area. So I'll let you know that right now, because
We're good with the deck and the porch and everything else?
Very good.
All right.
all right, thank you.
All right, we have deliberations and determinations.
Renting out your attic?
Yeah, who wants to move on now?
Last item on the agenda is to deliberate. So we can deliberate on Pondview.
Deliberate on it.
Told you guys.
Start our deliberations tonight.
But I don't want to do it.
On Pondview. So unfortunately, during deliberation, limited to the.
Dominic and Nicole are out.
Let's take it.
Lucky you.
You guys got to keep your mouth shut.
Towards on this. No problem. Leaning towards an approval on this?
Yes,
Yes?
yes,
And down here?
Yes.
Yes?
yes.
All right, so we have to talk about applications.
Okay, I'll take a break. Break?
Cigarette.
I want to go home, dude.
All right, so what would you like to see, Leon?
He wants to see a break in the back end of the cigarette easement, right?
Yeah, easement and the.
Cigarette.
And the traffic, the signage,
Signage.
you know.
Right, to go.
You want to encourage.
What person to go that way? Okay.
Right.
So good. What is the,
Proper language on the Board of Ed.
what does the commission feel about the fence from the facing of the wall?
From
I
the
think-
top of it?
No.
Or the bottom?
On the bottom.
Told this.
We're going to trust the engineer.
Yeah, they have to determine whether they need anything or not first. It doesn't need reinforcement.
Something to affect.
Yeah, the problem I have with leaving it open, okay, is that on the highways, okay, on the highways, they have big issues because of the rock face. What happens with rock face all the time is rock face freezes, it breaks and it comes down.
Falls up.
You have people that are living there, okay? And what you need to do is prevent that rock from heading anywhere into the living area. And a rock that comes off there, that comes off 30 feet or 40 feet up, could end up traveling like 30 feet in. Yeah, I think if they put that fence. You need something to prevent from it going any further. He wants it to be open so he can maintain it, which I'm all good for that, like you have ways to get in and out of it to maintain it. But I think as far as like with the rock face, I mean, I've seen it before. I see it on the highway, it happens all the time.
Happened at the Mark in Shelton.
Yeah.
I think, Rick, you went, didn't I talk to you about that like a year ago? Did you go check that out?
And it happened.
The whole cliff, exactly like this, fell in through the fence.
And back of Wendy's.
The fence is not gonna stop something like that, but it's gonna stop.
Collect it.
It'll stop the loose
damage.
Damage, right.
The bigger
So that's the
size.
only reason why that it's such, I mean, for them to put a fence, it's not a big deal for them to put a chain link fence going through there to prevent that from coming over.
Especially, they're gonna put the trees right in front of it anyway, so
Right,
you
you're
never
not
even
gonna
see
see
it.
it.
All right, we're good with that, I think.
And they're also behind the buildings.
Yeah. So it could be a green fence, it'll blend right into the, then it'll blend right into the, yeah.
Screening, right?
I assume the commission's happy with the solar introduction.
I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, you know, we're really promoting.
Yeah.
Concerned with the top of the cliff, the drop off, that there's nothing there now.
We're gonna take care of that tomorrow.
Immediately.
No, that has to be done.
Well, you can rent portable fencing.
Yeah, careful.
Yeah.
Immediately.
So that's the only other, the traffic, I know that the DOT is going to look at this big time. And because you have the gas station across the street, the DOT, if it's warranted, they're gonna make them widen or put another lane in that road. And they'll just shut it down until they get that. So I know that the DOT is going to look at this project pretty good. As far as the traffic study goes, and as far as the lighting goes, and as far as the traffic lights go, and the one on Prairie Hill, they may change the timing of that, and they change the timing of the other one because. I agree. Well, and so I don't think I have an issue with that. I mean, I know some people had an issue with it. And for, how many people live in Hills of Monroe?
Yeah.
How many is there?
A lot. And I mean, what people don't.
You don't see people come out of the Hills of Monroe. So there's not that much traffic generated. I never see anybody come out of the Hills of Monroe.
So what they were talking about with the pandemic and everything, people think about the only thing that's not going to generate traffic is people that work from home. But it's not that it's not generating traffic. It's not generating traffic during those peak times.
Right.
Because you're forgetting there's shift workers, there's police officers, nurses, people that leave for work. And these, I know the market of Shelton, very populated by police officers and nurses. It's very appealing to that kind of demographic of young professionals, which our POCD specifically spoke to wanting to accommodate with housing updates here. So they leave at other times of the day. So it's kind of ridiculous to think that the entire population of this place is going to leave at the same time in the morning. It's just not going to happen anymore. I mean, I don't know how many people on this board commute first thing in the morning doing, I don't. You do, you don't. You don't.
You're retired.
Well, there you go. You don't think a retired person's going to live in the mark? I mean,
He does, I do, he does.
That's not everybody.
He does.
That's not 100%. That's what I'm saying. It's still not the same. Exactly. It's not.
What's 80% of 400? Genius, come on.
I don't know. Obviously. But I'm just saying that it's not, you get these sample sizes and to think.
I don't understand what you're saying right now. Right now, you're saying it's not 100%. And you just showed this board. This board has 80%.
Okay, but it's not 100%. That's all I'm saying.
So
It's not a shopping center.
Exactly.
So hold on a second. So 300 cars is okay for you, but 400 cars is not.
I know, but when was the last time you drove by one of these developments and saw 300 cars lined up trying to?
Never. And it never will.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Right, but to use the number 100% makes no sense whatsoever. Because you went with this board and this board's already at 80% that leads in the market.
Okay, sorry. If we're looking at it, the bigger the population, the
more cars
we would skew it to.
Just a
Bad example. I'm sorry, Bruno, that I'm just saying.
It could be 50%. It could be 50%.
The point is.
Taking actual examples, when you drive by these places, you don't see it.
Yeah.
You don't see it.
Every time I've visited other ones, I'm the only one going in and out. It's kind of creepy.
The fencing behind.
Yep.
That Kevin said on the top of the rock, top of the wall. He said 6 foot. It should be 8 feet, at a minimum 8 feet. Why? Because 6 feet, well, I know 6 feet is tough to get over. 6 feet's tough to get over. I want to make sure that nobody can get over. I don't want to.
Well,
if some people want to getting over a fence.
Get over, I'm saying that.
Leon, I have a 40-foot ladder. Do you want to put a 40-foot fence up there? What are you trying to keep out of this?
Just to
I'm trying.
6 foot is plenty.
keep people from falling in unintentionally.
Right.
But at that point, if you're climbing a 6-foot fence, it's intentional.
Right, 6 feet.
And Mike will try to get that stockpile moved ASAP.
Okay, and you want to draft approval with,
Yeah, have that for next meeting.
Sweet.
And, yeah, we'll put it all this in. So Board of Ed issues, traffic control, fencing, additional landscaping
What additional landscaping? What are we talking about? From the last meeting.
from the last meeting.
How long does this DOT study take? How long is it going to hold this up before they start construction?
They have their contacts. It's already started.
Okay.
I think the concern is we have other properties in town that are very much held up from DOT.
Did, what was I gonna say? Shoot.
The sidewalk along the entire front.
Yeah.
Wetlands improved that. They were a little concerned because it encroached a little bit, 100 square feet into the wetlands, but they saw the benefit overall for the pedestrians.
Oh, Rick. Okay, so you're gonna get us a report. You're gonna contact the superintendent.
You already did.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Contacted him already on this?
Lease today?
No, I'm talking about the school busing thing. I wanna know.
He says it's a work in progress.
Who says that?
Superintendent.
Is there a school bus that goes in to Northbrook? And then
You want to know the Northbrook status?
I want to know what the Northbrook status is. In the hills. Because I was told before that the school buses aren't allowed to go on private property. And I believe Northbrook is private property. If that's the case.
I don't think that they're not allowed.
I think they said they prefer.
They prefer not to go on the private property, but this commission has, see, but that's what we said about one down on Main Street, that I said that we wanted them to go inside there and pick up the kids.
Board of Ed said no.
They said the Board of Ed said no.
At the moment.
What does that mean at the?
It's a work in progress.
So I would like to know what's the reasoning behind one, if they go in, if you can get me that information, it'd be great. If you can go into Northbrook, why can't we go into these other developments?
Because they're not going to commit to something that's hypothetical. Right now, hypothetically, there could be no school students. This is an estimate. There could be no school students. And they're not going to say, oh yeah, we'll put in a bus stop here. They're going to wait and see how many students. and
No,
they're gonna
I
make
want to know
themselves.
if there's students there, if they will pick them up.
All right, we'll get
That's
that.
what I want to find out.
Get that down.
I want to find out if they're going to actually pick them up.
Had a conversation today with the supervisor.
So let's move on with,
At the end of the day.
Of course, the family's expecting.
we have a new application. You see it here, Equestrian Estates. I don't know when that'll be on the agenda, maybe next.
Yeah, please take a ride up there because it's, you got barns and
Trying to.
it's payment in lieu of, no dedicated open space. You're going to get money to the Open Space Trust Fund. Payment in lieu of.
For elementary school, they do go through.
But, take a look at it. The commission has the right to hold a hearing.
Right.
All right?
We also have pending minute meetings, which I believe are here, February the 16th.
Why can't we make a bus stop then?
It's not up to us.
Elementary, no, high school.
We can recommend it, yes.
That's why I can recommend it. It's a safety factor.
Right, I agree. We can recommend. Okay. Pending meeting minutes of February 16th. Chair will entertain a motion to accept February 16th minutes.
Motion to accept the February 16th minutes as drafted.
Second.
Motion and a second. And the discussion. Call the roll, starting on my right. Dominic? Okay with the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayne, yes.
Westland, yes.
All right, minutes passed. Yes.
Dominic didn't need to vote.
No. This way. Anyway, we have zoning matters, 164 Enterprise Drive bond release.
Are we doing the 16th?
What? I don't see the 16th. Well, we just did the 16th.
No, it's 119.
What? I don't have one. I don't have 119. I don't have with me.
16th.
We just did 216.
You get a copy of 119 ones?
Sure, okay.
And the bond release, I don't have any documents.
No, I'm reading that to you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, 164 Enterprise Drive, that is a 20,590 square foot warehouse building. The project was completed in accordance with the site plan. I inspected the property. Staff is recommending the release of the 26,000 square foot building. And there is a proposal for an occupant, so it's working out pretty good.
Good. Chair will entertain a motion to release the bond.
Is your recommendation to release
Release the full bond, yes.
I make a motion to release the full bond at 164 Enterprise Drive.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
If not, call the roll. Starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayne, yes.
Westland, yes.
Okay, bond release. 536 Monroe Turnpike.
Okay, this is the Gulf gas station that was renovated.
Oh, yeah.
And staff has inspected it. There is a $4,000 completion bond, and staff has recommended the total release of said bond.
He must be really worried.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to release bond on 536 Monroe Turnpike.
I'll make a motion to release the bond at 536 Monroe Turnpike.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No, sir.
If not, we'll call the roll. Starting on my right.
Today.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayne, yes.
Westland, yes.
Bond is released. Do we have any other correspondence?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have no report. Any commissioner reports?
Yep.
Go ahead.
You want to start voting with yours or what?
Yeah,
I hope you're like a lunatic.
because you don't stop talking, so.
All right, how's your chance?
I have a question, and this is just, I'm just throwing this out there. you know, when we look over town, there's a lot of the same businesses, right? We could agree to that. There's a lot of pizza places, there's a lot of nail salons, there's a lot of whatever.
We haven't heard that.
We haven't?
Never heard.
Gas stations, you know.
We should do a Trader Joe's.
So what I'm thinking is there a way, obviously whoever's here now is going to get grandfathered in. There's no way around that. But is there a way we could say like, hey, you can't put like businesses near each other or within a certain distance? Or is there a way we can, within subcommittees, is there a way to write something up like that?
For
Just like, okay, so say I own
licenses, you can't.
just liquor licenses, but not like food?
Well, the market usually determines that. I mean, who's going to put another supermarket next to a supermarket?
Bruno, you can. It requires rigid zoning, like village district. Do towns have that? Yeah, and they control use.
Well, just my thought process is, well, yes, liquor stores are, right, you don't want them next to each other, whatever. But I'm just saying in general, there's just so many of the same places in this town. Obviously, whatever's here currently is going to stay currently. But like going forward to diversify our town a little bit, is there a way to say, hey, within 500, 750, 1,000 feet, we can't have, Ryan can't open up his donut shop and then I next door open up a donut shop.
You raise a good point, and I think the new overlay zone that you established, the MDD, Main Street Design District, you control every aspect of that.
That's kind of different.
And I think that zoning tool is going to be used a lot more.
I know, but that's kind of different though, because like.
It's on the road though.
But like we just put in that Jersey Mike's Chipotle and the Wayback Burger. But say that deli, Pretty Hill Deli across the street was a Subway, that's a like business to the, you know what I mean? Like,
if we use the MDD zone, that is an LOR zone. It's built in. I'm hoping that the market catches on with using that new zone. You control every aspect of it.
And I can control it using the MDD.
okay, so, but what if, so even currently, so if there's a storefront that's vacant, Leon's has a gas station and I have a gas station. We just approved that currently. They're like businesses across the street from each other.
That's right. The commercial, the B1s.
We couldn't deny that because it's too close to, I'm saying that's what I want to get to.
I think that's an overreach. I mean, you're going to.
Right now it is, but if you use the MDD.
Property owner. You can't have a gas station because we don't want you having one next to his.
Or restaurants, like, oh, you want to open a restaurant? We understand you want to sell pizza, but this guy's selling pizza. You can sell pies, you can sell phones.
You would have to eliminate the existing underlying zone, the B1s, the B2s. Remember that was talked about? Bill Porter.
No, I hear you. I was just thinking.
You have to eliminate it and put in like a village district.
I was just trying to think of a way to diversify so that we don't have constantly.
Well, you can say
do a village
there are no
district.
businesses that.
I mean, I tried that a couple of times to do a village district.
Amazon's also.
No one wants it. It's too restrictive.
Not that anybody wanted, we didn't pursue it. We wanted to do a village district, that's what we wanted to start it with, down at Stevenson.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And it never went anywhere, because that would have been a perfect place to do it. But that never went anywhere.
When it's perceived to be overly restrictive.
There was one.
But the liquor stores, we definitely should have them opening next to each other.
You eliminated that.
Regulations that.
But see, with down,
right next to each other.
down in development down there, we have more space to make a village district. At Stevenson, there's not.
No, there is not. There absolutely is not.
Rick,
Over here.
did we not eliminate our footages for liquor stores?
We eliminated, yes. That was done right.
I think, Rick. Thank you.
It was 1,200 feet.
It was 1,500.
1,500 feet.
Yeah.
Eliminated. On.
Right. And I believe that I really didn't want to take it all away. I think we should have had it 500 or 1,000 square feet.
What's still regulated is the amount of liquor stores. You can only.
You only can have 7.
Based on population.
Right now,
Right now we have 6 because there's a
get them all
license
put together. Now,
And it comes before the commission for new locations. You still get a shot at it.
you get a shot at what?
if an application comes in for a new location for a liquor store, the current regs say, subject to review by the commission. It doesn't say you can deny it, but you still review it nevertheless.
We still have regulations with liquor stores next to, I believe, places of worship and stuff.
No.
Yes.
No, we
took that out.
1,500-foot line house.
We took that away. Yeah, but Ryan, it still comes from the commission on new location.
That's how the guy on
25.
the old Goodwill got it across the street from the daycare.
That's right. That's the only way it got it. Because we removed
Okay,
it.
did you have something?
I have other
to talk
things.
about?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, I guess Pepper Street is a disaster. So,
The condition.
They're not even working on it. They just
we just gave them the approval on the thing.
Oh, no, you were talking about, okay.
There's a million screeners back there. It's not supposed to be there.
I just learned of that today, Mr. Chairman, yeah.
And then also we have Carter Road, where he has a rock hammer over there, hammering rock, taking rock out of there. So, and I saw that today. That needs to be addressed.
Immediately.
And so, I mean, did you have a meeting yet? Did you do your pre-construction meeting with them on that other property?
That's coming up. I just talked to Soli.
We need to address all this. We need to find out what's going on there. I would like a report.
So they have permission to do anything over there?
The high priority issues after tonight, fencing at 127 immediately. And staff's got to inspect Garter and Pepper Street. Issue orders if it's in violation.
Okay, do you have anything?
Yeah, the ZEO report is coming on the 20th. Cheryl will be doing that.
I have a question.
And 64 Cambridge Drive, the update from NSAFE.
Oh, cool.
They did wetlands and they're going to be doing PNC.
I have a question. So if I see a zoning violation, right? Like say, I don't know, on my road, I see someone park a mobile home on the side of their house or whatever it is. Can I tell her, and can she go there, or does there have to be an actual complaint that has to be filed for her?
The policy right now is a formal complaint. But if the commission directs staff, you have that authority too. You know, under your reports, right here, commission's report. There's a violation, please direct staff.
Violation anonymous or?
It's coming from the commission.
So not
Normally
coming from the
not.
commission. Or what if you were to fill out the paperwork? They are, right?
No, we will fill out the paperwork, complain, Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission.
If a resident were to file a complaint, it's anonymous, right? No, oh, they're not anonymous.
That deters people from.
That deters people from.
Well, they have to really care about it.
Yeah.
Because the commission can direct staff, like you're doing right now.
What happens with that? If it's anonymous. People make a complaint because they had a problem with their neighbor. It could be nothing, but yet they're making.
Drive everybody nuts.
So it's better to handle it the way.
Yeah, I got it.
A lot of towns are going the formal complaint. Let's do it the old way.
It makes sense.
Well, she's by herself too, so it's one person.
It's not gonna drive around town with, binoculars trying to find things. It's just not practical.
No, I'm not saying that, but.
Oh, I know you're not.
But there's people saying you can, like, I could say, hey, I drove by Ryan's house and to make her just go there and not have a formal complaint, it's
It
difficult.
comes to drop off paperwork. She's
At your house?
Now, let me ask you a question. If she drives by a house that has a violation and there's no formal complaint, can she do something? Can she stop or no?
No,
No? Really?
need a formal complaint.
Really? Okay.
No.
If there's,
She's.
Are you talking about, no, the ZEO can initiate it too. If there's a
Right,
public
that was
safety.
his question.
Yeah, I thought you were
safety or something.
Oh, you thought the resident?
Yeah.
Oh, no. The resident who spoke.
Kathy, address.
Oh, no.
I guess you can initiate it. Commission can initiate it, ZEO can initiate it, and then formal complaints. 3 scenarios.
Okay.
All right.
Like we remove illegal signs every day.
Right. Okay.
Anything else, Rick?
No, I think that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? We are adjourned. It is
9:36.